Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. In this video I want to take a look at a very underrated weapon, the Boolean Gemini exotic scout rifle. You attain this weapon as part of the Taken War Petra quest. Now of course this weapon has been out for over a year, but I never really used it in the past. But more recently I've been challenging myself to use weapons that I normally don't, and was pleasantly surprised with the performance of this weapon. And as I've never really given this weapon a full review, I thought it might be a good idea to go ahead, give it a closer look, and see if it just might be the best scout rifle in the game. Boolean Gemini is in the middle of the spectrum for rate of fire and impact, which is my personal favorite class of scout rifles. It's in the same class of weapon as the Hung Jury SR4, the Wounded, Lethe Noblesse, but it has a couple very interesting advantages right out of the gate. The intrinsic perk is high caliber rounds, which of course is a fantastic perk for any weapon, and then it also has a choice between ballistics. And in fact, it's the only scout rifle in the game available with aggressive ballistics, which of course makes this the highest DPS of this class of scout rifle. Now of course, both of these perks are going to make it a little bit harder to handle, but the good news is that we have the first perk, which is unflinching. It's easier to aim under fire using this weapon, which is going to come in use a lot during the Crucible when you have those one-on-one fights. Your next column of perks start with Single Point Sling, which can pair nicely with the first choice of exotic perk, which we'll go over in a moment, but then we also have Hammer Forge, which increases your range and accuracy, and Perfect Balance, which gives you extremely low recoil. Now for me, the optics of this weapon doesn't necessarily support Hammer Forge as much as I would like, so it's pretty much a choice between Single Point Sling and Perfect Balance. Single Point Sling goes really well with the exotic perk One Way. Bonus agility on precision kills stacks up to 3 times. So it really comes down to whether or not you want to utilize that exotic perk after it's procced, or whether you'd like to actually achieve it more often with Perfect Balance. And for this weapon, you actually have a choice for a second exotic perk, which is Or Another. Bonus armor on non-precision kills stacks up to 3 times. Now I have the same fundamental issue with this perk as I do with the perk for the Jade Rabbit, which we'll show in a moment, but it's simply the fact that you have to rely on a non-precision kill to activate this perk. So at face value, it seems like you have to consciously be not as accurate with this weapon to take advantage of its perk. The Jade Rabbit's exotic perk, the Fate of All Fools, is to chain body shots to gain bonus damage on your next precision shot and return ammo to the magazine. Again, a perk that tells you not to go for the critical hit. Now, while I really don't like it on the Jade Rabbit, I actually found out in testing that it's not as backwards as it sounds for the Boolean Gemini. In essence, I found that it sort of keeps you alive in situations that are more intense, where you actually might be too distracted or too overwhelmed to hit those precision kills. You'll see that in action in a moment, but I did want to compare it to the Burning Eye scout rifle from the Trials of Osiris set. That is also another weapon that has ballistic options instead of optics, but the Burning Eye does have a little bit of an advantage by giving you a higher zoom scope right out of the gate. It also has perks like Snapshot, Fitted, Stock, and Zen Moment, which makes this weapon very good for longer range encounters. But I think it's actually less versatile than the Boolean Gemini for most situations. The aspect of this weapon that you're going to appreciate right out of the gate, of course, is how hard it hits. Of course, being an exotic weapon, this has a very distinct sound, and it actually matches how the weapon performs, which is pretty cool. It also has 19 shots in the magazine, which makes it a very good choice for PvE. The best way to describe this weapon is that it's sort of the shotgun of scout rifles. Like I mentioned before, it has a very unique lens for a scout rifle, which makes it ideal for more mid-range encounters without sacrificing your accuracy. But I did have to remind myself that this is a scout rifle and is very effective at long range despite the way the optics look. Scout rifles are simply the most accurate primary weapon category, and that's something I definitely recommend you keep in mind when using this weapon. It might seem very loud and clunky to use, but it's actually a very accurate weapon. Having said that, if you have used this weapon in the past and don't really feel like it's a very accurate gun, it's most likely because the design of this weapon is inviting you to have a closer distance to your targets. So my one tip for using this weapon in the Crucible is to increase your distance from your target more than you would think. In the Crucible, it features 64 damage to the head and 43 to the body, which introduces the possibility of 3-tapping some of your enemies, which is pretty exciting for a scout rifle of this class. Conversely, I was actually also very impressed with the or another perk on this weapon. You will definitely notice the benefit of the armor stacking. Now, while it only might give you something like 10 extra health, combining that with you doing more damage because of aggressive ballistics makes this a very formidable choice for the Crucible. Anyways, I definitely invite all of you to go out, get the Boolean Gemini if you don't have it already, and give it a go. So let me know in the comments below what you think of Boolean Gemini and how it stacks up with other exotic scout rifles. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more Destiny content. And I will see you all next time. The intention with most Wrath of the Machine weapons was to maximize DPS, so the perks were designed to reinforce that concept. Now, if you approach the Vaults of Glass in Crota's end weapons with the concept of different elemental damage, this is what you end up with.